Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Secretary Mrs. Tobin, please call the roll. Thank you.
Mr. Teray.
Here. Here.
Mrs. Gasparo. Here. Mr. Anderson.
Here.
Mr. Brown.
Here.
Mrs. Galbraith.
Here.
Dr. Hall.
Here, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, we will have our good news report. Mr. Cunningham.
Mrs. Nash, if you'd go ahead and gather our two people who are coming up for good news, please come on down. We have our WGN Teacher of the Month, Miss Bessie Crawford from CMS. And we're here to congratulate her on her outstanding accomplishment from WGN. We really appreciate all you do, and we wanted to make sure we got a chance to recognize you.
Thank you very much. It was an honor. Oh, should I be talking? So it was an honor, and it's all about the kids. So Chloe Quinn, I wish she could have been here with me because she's amazing, as are all my students. And so it was an honor, and I appreciate it. And thanks, Miss Nash, for being so wonderful through the whole ordeal. It was kind of an ordeal.
Oh, you don't get to escape quite yet.
I'm better in front of children than adults. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Can we explain exactly what occurred? Does anybody? We know, but Mrs. Crawford was nominated as Teacher of the Month for WGN, and I'm assuming Chloe
Quinn, yes, was a student who nominated me.
Nominated you for obvious reasons. And we want to congratulate you on behalf of the school board. We know teaching is a very difficult job and challenging. And to be honored by one of your students thinking that you deserve this award, I'm sure is tops any award. So congratulations.
It did.
Anything from our board members?
I would like, is it working? Yes. I would like to say that I hope that all of our young students look at you and use you as a role model, because you're a perfect role model for our young men and women.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your efforts.
Yeah. Thanks for all you do to help keep me in the classroom and able to do. I'm very supported by my administration, by my parents, my kids. So it's really just an honor to do what I do. So thank you. Now I can walk away.
No.
Now I think we take pictures now.
I would like to say thank you because you have the children at a very impressionable age. And for one of your students to do that definitely is showing that you're reaching them. And I want to thank you very, very much for what you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that too. Thank you very much for your service to the district and especially to the kids. And we're talking a lot these days about middle school and the importance of it, and so I would echo Jenny's remark too. It's a really critical age and it's really important.
It's an impressionable time, and I love eighth graders specifically because they're on the precipice of making those decisions about what kind of adult they want to be, and it's just so great to watch the process and be a part of that. Yeah.
Great teachers are really special things.
Well, thank you.
I think we have a couple.
Yeah. Hold on, Superintendent, we save you for last. That's all right. That's okay. You know, I'm better in front of kids than adults too, so that is nothing to be ashamed about. And we just really, look at you and see the energy that you have. You just can't wait to run back and then run back up to the mic. You can do that after each board member comments. But thank you again for the rigor, for the energy that you have, and we really, really appreciate your hard work and dedication. Keep it up. I can see you've been with the district for the next 45 years. Keep it up.
Oh, bless your heart. Okay.
I was really excited when Aiden came home and told me what was going on. And he was all, it's like, when you're in 7th grade and you're looking forward to what you're going to do in 8th grade, he came home and he says, do you think I'll have her as a teacher next year? So that gives him something, and the rest of the 7th graders something to look forward to. So thank you for everything you do for our kids.
Thanks.
Very much
Thank you.
appreciated.
Thank you.
And I like to say personally, because I think you've almost had the entire Hall clan, and my oldest in particular still asks about you. And so I know personally that you do make a strong impression on our children. And I thank you on behalf of the Halls for all that you've done for our family.
Well, thanks. You sent pretty remarkable kids to me. They were pretty wonderful. So tell them hello. Brianna's probably, she's an adult at this point, right?
She's 22. She'll
Oh,
be
my
23.
goodness. Right. Well, she thinks she's an adult. Right.
Yeah, we'll talk later. I'll have
Okay,
to share
got
some
that.
stories with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Had 'em in their
Well,
30s.
two more things. First, I'd like to just give you a small token from the board, from the district. It's not a big thing, but it's just something that we want to give. And second, we would like to take a picture right out here with you and the Board of Education. Please. Watch out for the cords, please. Put me in the back row. Back row. Hey, how did you two end up? That's supposed to be too. Anderson's supposed to be over here, and you're over here because he's the new one. See how quick I got it. Got it done. Yes. Mr. Main, can you step up? Here we go. All right. Yes. Looks like you might have a presentation. Do you need the board to come down so they can see it? Or?
If you want to turn around, it's, stay there.
Y'all like it? Or let's go down. Let's go down.
That's your choice.
Sounds good. We're coming down.
Okay, well, first of all, my name is Brian Main. I'm the principal at Crete Scott King Magnet School. Mrs. Crawford, I'd like to also congratulate you and also let you know that if there's ever an opening at CSK, you're welcome to come over. The parking situation is much better right now, so we can definitely get you closer to the classroom door. Very, very excited to be here to present some good news to our Board of Education, Central Office Administration, and members of the community. As excited as I am to be here, I am going to be equally excited to leave tonight because our third grade students are currently participating at the Crete Library in the Battle of the Books. So as soon as we're done here, please forgive Ms. Bruns and I's exit because I think they're going to need help carrying the trophy back to the school. So it's very interesting that we were asked to present on the Good News Report because what I have to present to you tonight is good news. Every trimester at Crete Scott King Magnet School, the students and staff team up to come up with an idea for an action project, an action plan. And the second trimester's report was to go out and to find good things happening, to go out and find good news. We're bombarded, we're inundated with bad news. Every time you turn on the news, log on to the internet, talk to someone, everybody wants to talk about the bad things. Everybody wants to talk about gossip and negativity. It's no secret right now in the political campaign battle. Everybody's slinging mud. Everybody's talking poorly about each other. And if you were an alien that came down to our planet and only thing you did was pay attention to the media, you would think this was an awful place. And it's not. Unfortunately, that's what gets the attention. So what we tried to do was to come up with a plan of how we can find the good, recognize the good, and then have it spread. And boy, did it spread. I can't take really any of the credit. Ms. Bruns, who's with us today, who created this presentation, and our entire staff, our student body, and our community members, as well as the people who helped spread the kindness throughout the world, are the ones that deserve the credit. I'm just the fortunate one who's standing in front of you presenting it. So we'll start with a short video from Megan and Marcus.
The students and staff at CSK wanted to be reporters of good news.
So we sent the CSK Kindness Eagle home to our school families. Our job was to find good, kind news, report it, and pass the eagle on to another person to report kindness.
We also sent home a second eagle to send to family and friends in other states and countries.
People could report the kindness they found by either scanning our QR code or using the link on our school website, or they could email us.
We even had some people report their kindness through the good old U.S. postal system.
We ended up with kindness signings reported in Illinois, Indiana, Alabama, Texas, Missouri,
Oklahoma, Tennessee, Nevada, and California. And we even had reporters from Canada, Greenland, Greece, and Malaysia.
Kindness begets kindness.
It truly makes a difference.
So what we did was we had Mr. Mueller, our fourth grade teacher, hand create a kindness eagle. And on that kindness eagle, we attached a QR code that you can see on the bottom right-hand side. And we asked students and their families to go out and try to find people doing something good. It could have been something where someone might have helped someone shovel a driveway, or someone held the door open for someone. We really didn't know what we were going to expect, but we just wanted them to find something good. So as Megan and Marcus explained, we mass-produced these eagles, and we gave them to kids. And what we wanted them to do, with their families, of course, was if they identified someone doing something good, they'd give them this eagle. On the back were directions for them to basically pass it on and try to find someone else doing something good. We also set up a system for reporting. So it could have been QR code, email, or as Megan said, the good old-fashioned postal system. She made me feel old when she said that when we were doing the video. We received all kinds of good news. As she said, not only did it occur in the community, but it went throughout the state. We covered a number of states, and we even ended up with 4 different foreign countries, which was amazing. And then a little bit later, I'll tell you some of the things that were reported in those reports. Every time we got some information, we took those reports and we made announcements. We did a daily announcement for a new good news report. We posted these throughout the school. Anytime we got one, you can see our students there pointing to one that we recreated. Now, we didn't want this just to be warm and fuzzy, okay? Just go out and find the goodness. We are a school, and we did want to try to find some transdisciplinary connections here as well. We worked on geography, we worked on math, we worked on reading, we worked on writing, just to name a few. If you look in the up at the upper left-hand corner, you'll see a map of the United States. We also posted a map, an international map, and we had students plot the points on the map of where we were getting these good news reports from. If you look at the top right corner, you'll see a graph, and that graph indicates every time we got a report where it came from. So students were able to work on mathematical equations on where did we get more reports from, what was the difference between this state and this state, or this country and this country. Additionally, the students read Ordinary Mary's Extraordinary Deed and Each Kindness. So again, we incorporated reading and writing into our plan. I'm not going to read everything here, but let me point out a couple. Let's look at that second one. In Malaysia, a young boy celebrated his birthday by donating $1,000 worth of groceries to a local orphanage. That made it back to Coretta Scott King Magnet School, and now it's making it back to your board meeting. It's an amazing, amazing experience, something we would have never known if we had not done this action project. In Chicago, a man gave a $550 gift card to a family of 5 so they could celebrate Christmas. In Greece, a visiting daughter reported how her family was taking in refugees and caring for them on their island home. Our kids would have never knew that. We would have never known that. So I go back to say, yes, we're inundated with all of the negativity in our media reports. However, there's a lot of good going on, and that's what we wanted to share with our students, our community, our families. We think we made our point. Now, after we spread out to Greece and Malaysia and Missouri and Indiana and California and Texas and all these other places, we wanted to find a way to bring it back home. How do we bring it back home to Coretta Scott King? So our team came up with the idea of the bucket filling. After reading Have You Filled Your Bucket Today, we had recreated Mr. Mueller's eagle, attached it to buckets for every grade level. And we asked the students now to identify and recognize good things that were happening in our school. And anytime a student found something good, they took a marker and they went in and they filled it in the bucket of their choice, of wherever it was that they saw it happening. And as you can see on the bottom right-hand corner, each one of those dots represents a student seeing something good in our building. So we thought that was a very powerful way to bring it home.
The impact of the second trimester action project, the focus on kindness in our classroom, has been really cool. We enjoyed hearing the announcements and finding out where the Kindness Eagle had spotted different acts of kindness in the area, across the country and around the world. That was fun, but it really hit home when we read the Have You Filled a Bucket Today book, and we started looking for students to be bucket fillers, to fill each other's buckets with kindness. What we saw was the leaders in our classroom, they really embraced this, and they started to do nice things for other kids and noticing the other kids that were doing nice things for them, and they were reporting that to us. So then that became a part of every day. The kids would interrupt and say, Mrs. Dryja, Mrs. Barr, Ms. Van Milligan, so-and-so filled my bucket, and then they would tell us the nice thing that the child had done for them. So that was going on, and actually it's still going on. So we had this overflowing bucket of kindness, And the kids are really going out of their way to be nice to each other and to notice nice things, which was what we were looking for all along, was for them to notice the good things that are happening around us rather than all the negative.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
That was Ms. Jen Dryja, second grade teacher, who was also an instrumental piece in this action project. We got some feedback as well. Not only did we get these things, these responses about kindness, but people took the time to also comment on our project. Someone said, "I'd like to take this opportunity to tell you what a great idea this is. Thank you for caring and helping change the world." Someone said, "I often think kindness is passed on somehow. We might not seem like a big deal to you, can mean a lot to someone else. Kindness multiplies," and it did multiply in this case. It multiplied all the way to Greece, to Canada, to Malaysia, and many other places. We love your awesome goodness and kindness news idea. Finding kindness is something we should all do more of. One of my favorite ideas is that whatever you focus on expands. And favorite is not misspelled there intentionally. That is the way we received it, because that is the way that they spell it in Canada. So just wanted to point that out. So as you can see, it multiplied. It was an outstanding project. The entire staff at Crete Scott King Magnet School and the students and Ms. Bruns as our IB coordinator deserve all of the credit.
Kindness counts!
Before we get started with our public
I think we might have some comments.
Oh,
from
I'm
the
sorry,
board.
I'm just going. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Maine and Mr. Maine and Mrs. Bruns, thank you all for that. I think my cheeks hurt from smiling so much. That was awesome. You all incorporated so many parts to that one idea. We had technology, reading, geography, just all writing, all types of things, and the kids got to create higher order thinking. Just awesome. That was such a beautiful project, and I think it's meaningful and very appropriate and a timely message, you know, considering some of the things we've been dealing with. And I love it when we give our children voices. And when we give them the opportunity to have a voice, they just take it and run with it. Great job. That was awesome. Any board members?
I was actually, to piggyback off Dr. Hall, could not have come at a better time. And what a fabulous way for our youngsters to know that there is good out there, and that unfortunately a lot of what we read is negative. And just perfect timing. Very good job. Thank you.
I would also like to say thank you. I do have a couple questions. What was the period of time that you did that in?
We started right before Christmas break, and I don't want to say we ended.
That's what I'm getting to.
We started our third trimester. We're starting our third trimester, probably late next week.
So continuing?
Yes.
Okay.
Hopefully, you know, it doesn't just end with the project.
Right. Right, thank you. That's what I was trying to get at, is that even though you may go on to something else, we hope that this has caught on and will continue. So thank you for the hard work. I know it looked like a lot of fun, actually, and I'm just thrilled. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Brian, as well. I've known you for a few years now, and every time I've had the pleasure to meet you or talk to you, you have always embarked upon a positive attitude. So thank you and your team for having that positive attitude, displaying kindness. This is where we teach the kids so they can learn it and go forth in their adult age. Just real quick, I was just on a trip this past weekend, and the hotel that a couple of my colleagues that stayed overnight in, one colleague just continued to complain negative. Nothing went right, according to this one person. When we left the hotel, about 4 or 5 hours into our trip, she noticed that she had left her wallet, all of her personal belongings, credit cards, money, and so forth. So she had no idea where she left it. She had no idea where she left it, and she tried a couple places that she had previously been to, and someone said, "Did you try the hotel?" She said, "I am not going to call that hotel. I know if they found it, that they would keep it, So make a long story short again is that she called, and they had her wallet with hundreds of dollars in it, and all of the contents of that wallet was maintained. And when she heard about it and they gave her the good news, the rest of the trip was how good that hotel was. So keep the kindness going. Somebody will make a difference in each and every one of our lives. Thank you and your team.
Any other
Yeah,
board members?
Thank you for that. We're talking about middle grades and we've been talking a lot about the IB program. So I get a little bit of sense there of how it works in real life on the ground and that sort of interdisciplinary focus and that sense of community that's created. And, I think that's going to be an important discussion to have as we talk about the new middle school programming. Because I think you've obviously created something very special over there at CSK and it's something we're real proud of as a district. So, and hopefully it can be scaled, So thank you. It was a great presentation too. So important.
Thank you, Brian and staff. Wonderful job as usual. Keep up the good work. I'm proud of all of you. Proud of those kids. They're doing a fantastic job. Thanks again.
I have to say real quickly, when Brian started at CSK this year, I took a trip over there since all of mine are gone now, early on in the year just to visit. Because I know he's typically an upper grade person. You've been converted. But when I went over and I had a nice conversation with him, he seemed a little nervous, but I'll never forget how you told me about how you enjoyed getting the hugs from the little ones every morning and how that was the big difference. So I think you're doing a great job over there. And thank you again, Ms. Bruns. I know you've been there almost the whole time. Yes, so I know you have invested some time over there as well, and you're very passionate about the IB program, so thank you for all that you do. All righty.
Real quickly, I come from a home of educators, and my experience was both middle school myself and then administrating at the high school level. My wife is a second grade teacher. And having the ability to create bucket fillers over there is outstanding. And we just appreciate you giving that language to the kids so that they learn kindness is important as they move forward. And I just think that that's such a wonderful lesson that I had to say something about it. Thank you guys for all that you're doing. Okay, before we get started with the public comment, I wanted to make sure that I had a quick announcement. The Board of Education has made the determination that this evening they're going to pull off of the agenda the voting on the bonds. They're going to take a little more time to look through it and make sure that everybody is on the same page before we bring it back in front of the public. We will have a little discussion about them from Dr. Williams as we have a little time, but there will be no vote on the bonds this evening.
So I need a motion to remove action item 9C. Moved by Mrs. Gasparo. Second by Mrs. Galbraith. Mrs. Tobin, please call the roll.
Yeah, she's got to type and then do it.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mrs. Galbraith,
Yes.
Mrs. Gasparo,
Yes.
Mr. Teray, Dr. Hall,
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries. So that item is removed from our agenda this evening. At this time, we will have our public comments. Susan Duran, Special Olympics.
Short people, I have to adjust this. Dr. Hall, the school board, and Mr. Cunningham and his cabinet. I'm here to speak on behalf of Special Olympics. I asked Michelle Calderoni to come up here with me so that she can speak to her school. Balmoral Elementary took part in the Special Olympics Saturday, March 5th at Mantino Lake. Our school motto this year is superheroes. So we decided to make our theme for the plunge be superheroes. So we all dressed as superheroes and we had a great time. Our team was made up of 8 teachers and I want to acknowledge them. Elaine Pankey was our coach, Laura Jung, first grade teacher, Jackie Olson, first grade teacher, Megan Schmidt, our math interventionist, Kelly Devereaux, our speech pathologist, I need speech. Kristen Robertson, who is a teacher assistant, Leanne French, third grade teacher, and myself, who teaches reading. I was also very pleased to say that our 2 principals, Mrs. Perkins and Mrs. Van Kyken, once again took the plunge with us this year, so they're real troopers. We raised over $2,800, which was 12th out of 50 teams. We're still accepting donations through the end of March. So if anyone would like to make a donation to the Balmoral Superheroes, we would certainly appreciate that. We're very proud to participate in this great event, which helps to raise money for 21,000 athletes of Special Olympics in Illinois. And we know that here in our school district, we have several scholars that participate in Special Olympics. So it was a great way to be a part of that. If you'd like to see pictures of the event on our Balmoral homepage in the Spotlight story, it highlights it. Also, if you go to the media gallery, there are more pictures and there is the plunge that you can watch. We had to plunge in 2 groups because they won't allow more than 5 plungers at a time because of safety. I have to say that this is our 2nd year doing it. The water this year was much, much better than last year. Last year they had to cut the ice open And then they have divers in the water standing so that we could get in. At least this year, it was nice and thawed, so it really wasn't so bad. But I also wanted Michelle to speak because the 6th grade center had 2 teachers. Michelle was one and another was Kayla Anderson, and they each jumped separately with their families. So I asked her to come up and speak a little bit about how her teams did.
Good evening, board. I myself plunge with my 4 nephews. This is my 4th year plunging. Obviously, it means a lot to me as coach of our Special Olympics team here in the district. And I'm also on the committee, so I get to check everybody in when they come to the plunge. There were over 500 plungers just for Manteno, and we have raised over 140,000 total just in Manteno. The goal is 166, and by the end of the month, we probably should be there. But myself and I convinced Kayla Anderson, one of our other teachers, to plunge this year with her family. Myself and my twin sister and my 4 nephews, we raised about $2,500 between the 6 of us. And I think Miss Anderson and her husband and some family raised close to $1,000, if not over $1,000 also for the plunge. So thank you to everyone for the support. And I do this because it means so much, because our athletes here in Crete can participate and do what they do because of people and their generosity for Special Olympics. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both for your commitment to the Special Olympics program. I almost forgot we were in public comment. Dan Taylor, agenda item 9C.
Just a few minutes ago, the board acted upon what I was going to request. So I thank you for taking a step back and reconsidering things. I guess I would just like to get in the public record that bad decisions are usually the product of faulty data, or worse, no data at all. In order to make an informed decision, and when I speak of an informed decision, I mean one that has been publicly vetted, I would ask the school board to consider the following steps. Number 1, please provide the public with the most recently completed 5 years of historic spending and fund balances for each of the district funds. Now, I found something on the website, but with very little analysis and explanation. And what was troubling about that is over the last couple of years, we were running at a deficit, except when we made it up with funds from the grant that we received back. So I'd like to see that talked about a little bit. And then secondly, going forward, please provide the public with a 10-year projection of revenues and expenses for each fund put into an easily understandable spreadsheet that will show beginning balances, funds received, expenses incurred, and an ending balance so that it can be determined where the district will most likely end up financially if this bond plan is adopted. And let's be realistic and leave any extended funding from the state out of these calculations. Let's not count on the state for any assistance on this or any other capital project for the foreseeable future. Number 3, how much of this project cost can be directly linked to the IB program? What is the breakdown on this from program licensees and building assets? And what kind of support and training do we receive from the IB organization? And what are the added ongoing costs of implementing the program? Number 4, how many districts are utilizing the IB program in the state of Illinois today? What metrics are being used by these districts to track success or failure of the program? And finally, how have these districts fared on the state mandated tests? Has the IB program led to measurable gains in the state tests? And how are they measuring this? Thank you very much.
Mr. Taylor, do you mind leaving that with us so we can make sure that we have an accurate?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Monee Ruff. Compliments for MEC and Coretta Scott King. Concerns with fights. Coming together in partnership.
Okay, so when I said compliments, I wanted to compliment CSK. I have a student there, and I wanted to compliment Mr. Main. I think he's really great with problem solving. He really addresses the children as adults, meaning having them be accountable and learning how to speak and work problems out. So I really think that that's really great. MEC, I think it's a wonderful place. The leaders there are awesome. They actually care, and the students there know that they care. My problem solving, the second part on that, when I was talking about the fights, as a parent, I have a teenager and a third grader at home. And I'm with the high school students, you know that they're finding themselves. A lot of them it's like a mixture. You have children that are having issues at home. You have children that are trying to find themselves, which all teenagers are trying to do. And then you have save face. So the fighting was a concern for me, and I didn't know if you guys knew that a lot of the students are angry because some of them feel like when things are done to them, nothing is solved. So that makes them angry, and they feel like they want to take matters into their own hands, and that they can handle it better. So a lot of that comes from social media, which we know is a big problem as parents and adults dealing with them. Sometimes it can get tough because the expectations of educators that you guys are supposed to fix everything. Well, we know that it is a partnership. I know because I'm an involved parent with both of my children that it is a partnership. It takes us both to work together. So wrapping it up, I wanted to know if something could be done because a lot of students aggravate, harass, and do a lot of damage through social media. And what happens is it trickles over in the school. And when kids are trying in their way to call out for help or to get it to stop without being called a snitch or whatever the case is, and it's not stopped, it's more of a, okay, well, this situation happened at home, but it trickled over here. What can actually be done with that to keep them from feeling like I have to take this matter into my own hands because no one is going to handle it. Another issue that not an issue, something that I wanted to bring to the table is a lot of private institutes, and I'm not comparing, I'm just giving it like an example. A lot of private institutes in the city of Chicago and some magnet schools, they do contracts with parents, pretty much saying that everybody wants their kid in a good school, okay? But it's a contract involved saying that I need you to understand that by your child residing in this school, that it is a partnership. You know, we want to do our job, but we need your help in fixing any situation that comes our way. Negative situations, we're going to have those. We're going to have bumpy roads. We're talking about teenagers. But where we're supporting each other on not to give up, and the children, the teenagers are watching how we are handling problem solutions. Meaning if we're giving up, if we're fed up, if we're tired, but if something could be put into place where parents have accountability as well. It's not just here, I'm done. and then that disrupts the classroom, and then that disrupts the house, the hallway and the whatever. Just real quick on briefing, just speaking on a situation that I personally was a part of. I gave my cell number out. It was a harassment situation to all parents to say, hey, call me. I don't want to move forward with it. I would rather resolve it. No one called. And with that being said, our children are looking at that. Our teenagers, which are moving into becoming college students or in the military or whatever the case, they're looking at that. And if they feel as if I'm getting no help, that's a stress on their minds, which can block learning. Because they're worried about the wrong thing. They're worried about the fact of this situation is not taken care of. I'm being harassed on social media and this and the other. I just recently changed the password to my son's social media page just to shut things down. But I would love to come up with some things too, because I'm not just concerned about my children, because unfortunately, we don't live in a bubble. We have to reside with the rest. And we have so much going on with our youth already that I would love to come up with something where parents are accountable, some type of support group, because if it's an unhealthy parent, 9 times out of 10, mentally, there will be an unhealthy teenager. And then that will trickle to you all in the classrooms and so on and so forth. So I'm not really sure I have a few ideas, but I think it's worth taking into consideration, because this is a beautiful building and we want to use it, you know what I mean, for the better of the child. And I'm not saying it's going to change the world or everybody's going to be on board for it, but for the people that do, I'm quite sure that we can get some results.
Thank you for your comments. I want to, I don't know if you've met the principal at the high school, Dr. Harton, who's sitting right in the corner. And I would suggest that you connect with him and share some of your ideas. Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Matt Warren. Proposed vote on purchase of short-term bonds.
Good evening. Yes, the board has, the board action forces me to now speak extemporaneously. I would first of all like to commend you on avoiding the first thing that the public sees when they look at a decision. The public knows that decisions that are reached fast, the ones that happen quickly, are the bad ones. And what the public respects is deliberate, careful decision-making about the action that you're going to take. So I commend you on choosing that path tonight. I would also, like Mr. Taylor, urge you to think long and hard about expanding the IB program as well. You see, if I could offer a small piece of advice, once you find yourself in a hole, the first thing to do is to stop digging. And if you're in that unfortunate position where you can't stop digging, the next thing you can do is to dig slower. And so in taking time to make decisions and thinking everything through, gathering all the evidence, and taking what the public sees as good deliberations to reach your decision, that's an example of digging slower. So thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public comment. Moving forward, do we have any board updates? Okay. Next, we have administrative updates. Student Affairs, Dr. Spence. FOIA request update.
Okay, no, I wasn't sure if it was okay. All right, that's all right. Thank you. The following Freedom of Information requests have been received, and I have reported the results and status of those requests. The first one comes to us from Tammy Burnham of Crete, Illinois. The request was received on February 5th, and the request is, how many students have been expelled by semester over the last 3 semesters? How many uniformed or off-duty police officers and security guards you have per shift, per building, and how many students per building? How many detentions have been assigned this school year at Crete Monee High School? And how many detentions have been served this school year at Crete Monee High School? An electronic response was sent on February 12th. The response included the requested documents. Our second comes to us from Ms. Tammy Burnham of Crete, Illinois. The request was received on February 23rd. The request is for a copy of all contracts between Crete Monee 201U and DLA Architects for all construction at Crete Monee Middle School. An electronic response was sent on February 29th. The response included the requested document. Our last comes to us from Ms. Tammy Burnham of Crete, Illinois. The request was received on February 23rd. The request is for a copy of all contracts between Crete Monee 201U and Chicago Heights Construction for all construction at Crete Monee Middle School. An electronic response was sent on March 7th. The response included the requested document. The FOIA requests are posted online on the district website for review. And this concludes our FOIA request for the month.
Thank you. Next, we have our business update. Dr. Williams, financial analysis.
Good evening. In light of the board's future consideration to issue bonds for the middle school project, an independent financial projection was requested from the district's bond consultant. A draft of that presentation is included in the board packet today and was discussed at length at the March Finance Committee meeting. At that time, Elizabeth Hennessy, a managing director with William Blair underwriting firm, was present, and she provided an overview of the proposed debt schedule. While we know that the plan stabilizes existing debt payments and extends the current debt schedule, I'd like to take a moment to just highlight a couple of points regarding some of the recommendations that are being made to the board as it relates to this bond issue. In the presentation, we show the history of the property values throughout the district. And we've seen a decline for 6 consecutive years in the existing property values. And that has a direct impact on the growth of our annual tax revenue. In addition to that, we know that the Consumer Price Index, which is used as an indicator of inflation, will be less than 1% for the next 2 years as it relates to the income for this district. And the majority of our income, 66%, comes from that local property tax revenue. So this means that we will not see a significant increase in our revenue, and our expenses, like any other school district, will likely continue to grow based on the rate of inflation. We also know that the state is in financial crisis and has been operating without a budget since July of 2015. The backlog as it stands today of bills at the state is $7.6 billion, and according to the comptroller, it is expected to reach an all-time high of $12 billion by June 30th. There's no end in sight for the state's financial crisis, which again impacts another 24% of the district's revenue. Our governor's plan is to simply forget about adopting a budget for this year and move forward with adopting a budget for next year that includes potentially additional cuts to school districts as well as higher education institutions. All of that to say that we can project over the next 3 to 5 years what our financial situation will look like. Financial projections beyond that The validity of those projections would be questionable because the state does not have a plan. So we would be projecting based on unknowns. I strongly encourage all of the board members and any community members that are interested in this information to attend the April Finance Committee meeting, which is scheduled for April 6th, as there will be another presentation. And we will again provide projections as it relates to the information that we have regarding the future condition of the district. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our updates, administrative updates. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Brown. Second by Mr. Teray. Any questions? Mrs. Tobin, please call the roll.
Mr. Teray? Yes. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Galbraith?
Yes.
Mrs. Gasparo?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Dr. Hall?
Aye, thank you. Motion carries. Next, we have our action reports. I'm sorry, need to read this. Have to get in this new habit of reading the consent agenda.
Okay. Consent agenda. A, Superintendent. A1, Education Committee meeting minutes of February 8th, 2016. 2, Personnel Committee meeting minutes for February 9th, 2016. 3, Personnel Committee minutes, closed session minutes of February 9th, 2016. 4, Board Policy Committee meeting minutes of February 11th, 2016. 5, regular meeting minutes of February 16, 2016. 6, regular meeting closed session minutes of February 16, 2016. 7, Personnel Committee meeting minutes of March 8, 2016. 8, Personnel Committee meeting minutes, closed session minutes of March 8, 2016. 9, Finance Committee meeting minutes of March 9, 2016. 10, Finance Committee meeting minutes, closed session minutes of March 9, 2016. B, business. 1, approve all accounts payable agendas of bills for February 2016. 2, approve payroll for February 2016. 3, approve treasurer's report. C, curriculum. 1, approve amended calendar for 2016, for 2015, 2016. That's the end of the consent agenda.
Okay. Next, we have the superintendent's report, the IHSA membership renewal.
Our issue is Crete Monee High School must renew its membership to the Illinois High School Association. We must do this yearly. The board has to vote for approval. Membership is required for our high school students to be able to participate in IHSA competitions. It is the administrative recommendation that the Board of Education approve the renewal of the IHSA membership application for Crete Monee High School.
May I have a motion to approve the IHSA membership for 2016-17?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Anderson,
Second.
second by Mrs. Gasparo. Any questions?
How much is the annual cost?
Oh, that's fine. We were trying to, the annual cost. Let's see.
Oh, it says in the very
I
first
think it's on
paragraph,
the,
IHSA membership will not require payment of membership dues or state series entry fees per action of the IHSA Board of Directors. I was looking for it too, so. Terry helped me.
Oh, they get their money.
They get their money, and nobody knows where their money goes. That's another question for another day.
maybe that's why they're not charging. In light of their recent media. Yeah. Okay. Well, you all know how I feel about the IHSA. Okay. Mrs. Tobin? You ready?
Mrs. Galbraith?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Teray? Mrs. Gasparo?
Aye.
Dr. Hall?
No, I mean, aye. Even if it is free. Aye. Next, we have student affairs. Resource officer for Crete Monee High School.
Thank you, Dr. Hall. The issue is the district has identified the need for a school resource officer for Crete Monee High School. The justification for this is that the addition of a school resource officer through Crete Police Department will assist us with providing a safe school environment, increase visibility and accessibility of police to the school community, build working relationships with student and parent groups, promote positive relationships with the student body, and assist with emergency crisis planning and building security matters. If this is approved, Crete Monee School District Administration, along with Crete Monee High School, will work collaboratively with Crete Police Department to define and develop a job description and duties for the SRO, as well as selecting the appropriate officer to serve as an SRO and arrange the financial arrangements. This information would then be drafted into a memorandum of understanding, or MOU, to be presented to the Finance Committee for approval of the agreed upon salary, and subsequently to the board for approval to move forward. Our recommendation is that the Board of Education approve the use of a school resource officer for Crete Monee High School for the 2016-2017 school year.
Thank you, Dr. Spence. May I have a motion to approve school resource office for Crete Monee High, that should say officer, for Crete Monee High School 2016-17. This is an approval just to actually acquire one. No contract or anything at this
No,
point.
that
We're
will-
just agreeing that we need one, and that's what this vote is.
Yes, and then we
Just
will
wanna be
work
clear.
together, come up with all the particulars, and then it will be presented again for
Right.
April.
Okay.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Galbraith. Second by Mr. Teray. Any questions?
I know we haven't finalized salary, obviously, or anything, and we do need to speak with Crete about it, but can you tell me where the numbers are coming from? Are these from the village?
The numbers.
Yes, these were provided by the Crete Police Department representative, Deputy Chief Bobby Hill.
And these are their standard first, second, and third year salaries?
Salary plus benefits. Part of the conversation that will take place is agreeing upon what the salary arrangement will be, the district's commitment. That will then go before the Finance Committee and present it to the committee.
But these are the numbers.
Yes.
Wow, okay. Thank you.
Can we explain exactly what this person would be doing?
Okay. Similar to what we listed under the justification, one of the things that we have been in early talks about is making sure we are very, very clear on the role of the SRO. Crete Police Department is not interested in having an officer at the building who serves as a super dean. And by the same token, the district is not interested in having an officer at the high school who is there solely for making arrests. This is designed to be a joint effort, basically what the title says, a resource for the students. When you are experiencing issues, whether it's in the community with your peers or in the building, this is an additional person who you can reach out to, and they can maybe kind of head off some things before they end up being a bigger issue. So similar to what our public comment person was saying. The idea is even to have an office set up for the SRO at the high school in the event that students want to just meet privately with the person. And then another added benefit is working with us on our emergency and safety plans for the high school.
And
There are a myriad of duties that go far beyond just law enforcement involvement.
So this person would actually be employed by Crete Police?
Yes.
And what are the qualifications for the job? I know you've sent us some things, but what are the specific, or is it just a person who's qualified to be a policeman or?
Well, one of the things that we really want is someone who has experience working with younger children, juveniles. For instance, Monee Police Department actually has a juvenile officer. I know Deputy Chief Hill has some officers in mind who he knows seem to have a knack for relating to students.
So we're being clear that this is not a policeman that's stationed in Crete Monee High School, ready to arrest kids at
exactly
whatever.
Because that doesn't benefit anyone. I mean, we
Right.
all hear horror stories in the news about SROs in different states and different buildings, and it just goes terribly wrong. And we don't want that for our officers any more than Crete Police does. One of the aspects of our plan is to work on how we're going, if this is approved, how we will communicate to our stakeholders the role of the SRO. So going into next year, everybody's on the same page as to what we're expecting of the officer.
So what is the difference between this person and a dean?
Well, a dean would work primarily with students on discipline that occurs in the building and processing them through that. The SRO won't necessarily be involved in that. The SRO is preventive. There are a lot of times where a student may be on the verge of doing something, and the SRO can speak to them very plainly about this is how this would impact you from a legal or law enforcement standpoint. If you make the decision to do this, this is how it could affect that. Again, not a super dean, but it kind of takes it to a different level.
So would this person be involved with the communities as well?
Yes, they're that link. If there's, say, for example,
Not
there's-
just Crete, but all of our communities. So would they be the person that's contacting, the police or whatever in the communities or whatever resource? Because I know that with certain instances, a lot of times administrators are involved, and you're involved with sitting down with families and dealing with some of the things that are spilling into our schools from our communities. So is that what this person would be?
Yes,
taking
exactly.
over?
Right now, a lot of times what we do when we have something that's going on in the community, we invite the local law enforcement to come in and sit at the table with the parents and the students, and we have a collaborative conversation about it. Our SRO could then coordinate a lot of that for us.
Okay. And would the principal still be involved, but taking a little step back off of it, are you still gonna be, how is that?
No, we're still all involved in it, especially with our first year. We are finding our way through it. I don't think the principal would step back from any of it.
Okay.
I have a few questions for you. This will be a uniformed officer, correct?
Well, that's one of the things we'll talk about when we meet. We already have plans, if this is approved, to immediately get together and iron out what we collaboratively want for the officer. That should be part of that discussion.
I would highly recommend that for the authority, to show the authority. That is not just assume the building. Okay? I think he or she, you know, that would be he or she is uniform. What, next question is, what are they gonna do this summer? They're gonna go back on police force?
Yes.
That's the plan, to be control officer?
Yes, that's part of the discussion that will take place about the salary arrangement, because we really will only have the officer for 175 days. We don't have them for the full year. When the officer isn't with us, he's back on the force.
During the vacation period, stuff like he goes back to Crete.
Yes.
That's what he or she is doing.
Yes.
And then the next question I have is have we sent a letter as a goodwill gesture to the communities that feed into here? You know, we're not a high school district or elementary district, we're one little community. We serve 4 communities, and, you know, they can throw in a few bucks for the cost of this officer, you know, it's their children.
That is a problem.
They serve as well as the kids in Crete. And I realize the building is in Crete physically, I understand that, but as a goodwill gesture from Jay, Mayor Jay, and Vivian, I don't know if Vivian can do anything, right? But from our communities to you know, throw in a few bucks for this officer, you know, wouldn't break my heart in the least, you know, it's their kids that we're gonna serve all the kids in the community. They come from 4 different communities, so all they can say is no, in my opinion.
I mean, you could always ask, but my experience has been where I've been in places where they have many different schools in different communities. In the Bloomington Normal area, they have schools that are in Bloomington, and it was a district that I served in, and then schools that were in Normal, schools that were in a small town called Towanda, Carlock, and another one called Hudson. The jurisdiction was really in charge of the officer, and they negotiated with the school district so that the school district could cover that school area. It's not the norm. Doesn't hurt to ask, but just so we make sure that you know that it's not the norm.
I'd like to see, you know, personally, I would like to see a little letter, and I'd like to see a written response back, and, you know, I think the public would be interested in knowing if communities are willing to support some financial resources for this, you know. I'd be happy to let the public know. No problem with me. Definitely write a letter, let them know. You know, I'd like to see that, because it's all of our kids, as far as I'm concerned. We're close by the community. You step across an imaginary line, you're in the next community. You know, it's not like we're spread out 40 miles this way and 40 miles that way. You know, I'd like to see them, you know, at least give them an opportunity to suffer and climb.
Okay.
I agree as far as asking. I think your issue may be that after they're done with us, they go to Crete.
Right.
So Crete has the control over
It's
the
their
person.
officer, yes.
So you may run into that. But I want to also add, as far as a uniform, I've been contacted by a couple of parents, I guess, that heard that we might be doing this. And one thing that was stressed was they did not want someone in uniform because they didn't want it to feel like it's a jail inside of the school.
Right.
So that's my feedback on that. So I know you guys
And I
have
have heard
discussion.
that, yeah.
Any other comments or questions?
Is it possible to find out from other schools if their SROs wear uniforms? If maybe we could take a little poll and find out?
Some do, some don't.
We've already done that.
Yes.
I mean, are we looking at a 50-50? Are we looking at 80-20? What are we looking at?
I mean, it really, I don't have the exact numbers, but I did kind of poll some of the area schools to see, and it's really the perception that you want to put out there. If you are interested in the officer being present as a show of law enforcement. You have a metal detector, you have the officer there manning the metal detector. What we were looking at is really stressing the resource part of school resource officer, and someone that the children are comfortable talking to, the parents are comfortable going to. It's a mutual benefit for the community and the school to have the person. So, I mean, those are discussions we'll have as a group.
Because the IB school we went to, their officer does wear a uniform.
Okay.
So,
Mhm.
and yet he still has a different persona. So just curious on how that survey would work out.
Okay.
Can I get clarity on that? Are you suggesting a survey on whether they should wear a uniform or not? Are you suggesting a survey on whether they should wear a uniform or not?
How many schools their SROs wear uniforms versus not wearing uniforms? And feedback on how that's working.
Okay.
There are a lot of schools with SROs. Are their SROs wearing uniforms or are they not wearing their uniforms? How did they come to that decision maybe even? I mean, was that set to them by the police department or did they vote on? How did it come to that decision? Just curious as to why they came to that decision. A
Okay.
uniform versus no uniform. And if
Okay.
it's no uniform, do they wear a different type of uniform? Like, do they always wear a polo and khakis?
Yeah, I'm like a
or
polo. I mean, there's very
something like that,
uniforms.
or do they come up in their own clothes every day? And you don't
I
know
do
what
agree
they're
there needs to be some type of distinction. I
Right.
don't think
Right.
parents have a problem with that. It was just the whole uniform thing, like
Right.
there's a policeman walking around all day is what was said to me.
Right.
But again, you guys will have that decision and determine what you feel is best.
Do we know what, we have the largest school district in the state, right, 30 miles away. What are their SMOs? I see Chicago policemen around all Chicago public schools.
Right.
I mean, I've never seen them without
We're not Chicago.
Right.
them. We have similar problems in some.
I doubt it.
Lately.
Many of the SROs, though, in CPS don't wear the uniform. Yep. I've seen quite a few that don't. Yeah. Right. Okay. Right. I mean, I think it's important that we discuss it collaboratively, that we as a group come up with what we feel like is going to be best for the message that we want to send. So it of course, won't be my final decision, and anything that we come up with will be presented to the board.
Alrighty.
I do have a comment and probably a question as well. I'm all in agreement as far as the need for a school resource officer. We talked about this over the last several years, I believe. And we have listed here the issue. I don't think that issue is clearly defined. It's basically saying we need a resource officer. That's not the issue. The need is not an issue. We need to be more definitive on how we identify the issue. So what exactly are we approving here? We're approving the hiring of a resource officer based on what we have. We have the justification, and then we also injected a monetary value in that, which we're saying that we are not going to approve, or we are not clear on that value, but yet we are approving it tonight. So I don't know if we need to amend the motion and what was the motion exactly? To hire? To
No.
approve?
Basically, like I said, to clarify, this is just approving the fact that we need one, that we are going to pursue
Okay,
one.
so, but if we do it as such with the document that I have before me, we're saying that we are approving the hiring as well as approving this document with.
So you're approving the use of a school resource officer. The board will then, the committee first, and then the board will be presented with a memorandum of understanding that further details what the salary arrangement will be, whatever the finance committee approves for that, and as well as the role, will define the duties.
Yeah, yes, but I just want to make sure when we approve what you just mentioned, Dr. Spence, that if someone were to go back and look at this document, it's basically in the minutes right here, this document saying the financial impact, the addition of, and it should be a SRO will occur costs as follow, 1, 2, and 3, year 1, 2, and 3. So that's a little confusing. If we do not agree with that at the next finance meeting, I know we have some kind of overlap between the personnel committee when it comes to hiring a person, being recommended to hire that person, and then the cost is somewhat discussed then. So here's one of those occasions where this never came to the finance committee.
We're not
Okay.
hiring somebody though. The Crete Police Department is hiring them, correct?
But we're paying the cost.
But it won't go to personnel, will it?
We would approve the.
We're paying the cost.
The
We're looking-
cost that we're paying them.
So.
They're
yeah.
officially in a hire of Crete Police Department. As far as the actual vote, which is the recommendation here, is the use of a school resource officer.
And I'm all agreeing.
So we're just approving that we will use one, basically.
And that's, again, I have no problems, no qualms with that. But if we have this one document saying this is the financial impact, here's the recommendation, and so on and so forth. So I just think that this should not be part of it.
But we've made it clear how that's going to be
In the
coming
MOU.
later
Yes.
as far as their negotiation. And with every agenda issue, item, or whatever, you have the financial impact. So they put in the information for that. It's not saying we're approving that.
Well, I would like this document not part of these minutes.
Can you put that in, Terry? In the minutes?
So it doesn't reflect back when someone come back and review these minutes, it shows this document that we approved in some way.
Sorry, this, well, seems to me, and I am the new guy, but that this memorandum of understanding just basically in the motion authorizes the district to go forward to negotiate this arrangement, right?
That is correct.
Yeah. So I think that's all we're doing tonight.
But
I don't think we're locked into anything that's in here.
And I agree. It says negotiating a 50-50 split, right? Or 60-40 with these particular salaries.
Yeah,
That's
within
all I'm
those
saying.
parameters.
So what you're saying is,
We haven't-
are these salaries etched in stone? It looks
Yeah,
like the only
exactly.
negotiation is the 50-50, whether we're paying 50-50 or 60-40.
It's
So are
saying that
these
we're gonna-
salaries etched in stone? This is what was proposed by.
This is
Crete.
what was proposed, but part of our discussion of the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, outlines everything that you are going to do with the SRO, including the financial arrangement. That will be presented to the Finance Committee before it is approved to move forward to the board. The MOU is what you will sign that between the district and Crete Police Department, that this is the contract that you're agreeing to do these things. So tonight, we're not even signing anything. It's simply permission to move forward with the discussions about the use of an SRO and to create an MOU for it.
Yeah, I mean, you're so definitive. Again, you're saying the addition of an SRO will occur costs as follows. Boom, year 1, year 2, year 3. Then it says, what asterisk negotiating will be 50-50 / 60-40, da, 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 da. So we're so definitive with this base negotiating on a percentage
Can we change will
of
to
this.
may?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? We're saying negotiating will be 50-50 based on these numbers.
Well, the document is what it is, but I think we can just put in the minutes that we will be negotiating the price, that this is not etched in stone. The financial impact is outlined on the, what do we call this sheet?
Yeah, we just locked
Action
ourselves
item
according to this
sheet.
here, to prices.
Would you feel more comfortable if this document was changed to say may incur costs as
I'm
follows
fine with
instead
that.
of will?
I'm fine with that.
The document itself is not a legal document. The minutes are.
But
That's what's legal. We don't vote on these documents.
We don't vote on well, we are voting on the packet. Yeah, we are.
We're
We
voting
are.
on the recommendation. That's what we're
right.
voting on.
And all I'm saying is, by this document being part of the minutes,
This is
As
not a
is.
part of the minutes.
It's not part of the minutes?
No, it's not.
It's not part
This
of
is just an
meeting?
outline of what we're voting on. This is the
This
action
document
item
is not
sheet.
part of this meeting?
I said it's not a part of the
Or
minutes.
Okay.
The minutes are legal documents that we vote on. So if you can put it in the minutes, that we will be negotiating the price with Crete Police Department. Now, I will say, I agree, I think it was Ms. Gasparo that brought up concern with how much, as far as benefits, that seem to be about 40% of the salary is benefits.
78%.
The benefits?
78% of the base pay. It's 78% in addition to it. And then there's a 21% salary increase from
Yeah.
year one to year two.
Look at the numbers.
Yeah, the increase is,
The increase is 21%. The benefits cost is 78% of the base pay.
It's almost, or more,
78%.
looking at the numbers.
Oh, you mean of the base pay? I'm talking about the total pay. The benefit is taking up about 40% of that total pay. So it's kind of half and half. You're paying half salary and half benefits, or 60% salary and 40% benefits of the total pay. That seems to be a lot. Year one total is $87,000. Year two is $106,000, and year three is $113,000. So I don't know, do they have a pay scale they're going by? What do
I
they?
believe that's their collective bargaining.
Right, that's their pay scale.
I think we're kind of.
Oh, wow. As a new officer in Crete?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not sure this would be a first-year officer.
And what I
Okay.
asked for was their salary scale. I asked Deputy Chief Hill to provide me with their salary scale so that I could give you an idea of what we're talking about financial impact wise. We, in the initial discussions, would not be using a brand new officer.
So this is someone who, they probably already have somebody in
Right,
mind.
it probably
basically,
should be someone
and
who's
this is what
familiar
they're
with the
scheduled to
community.
make next year, basically. Wow, great benefits.
First thing I saw.
Dr. Hall, my understanding is it will be a current officer that they're going to choose from, somebody they already have in their force, and that they're going to have to hire another officer to fill that spot. So my understanding is, after just having talks in the community, that they are going to choose somebody they already have.
And are we
then
paying to fill the spot too? Is this
No, we're
supposed
not
to-
paying to fill the spot. I
Oh.
think that part of this issue might be because the current officer is at a higher pay scale. It's a guess, but it's going to be a current officer. It's not going to be a new officer to the Crete force.
Oh, wow.
When I talked to the mayor, he told me that the married officers' medical insurance is approximately $20,000 a year. So, and then he's got to contribute to the pension plan also. So, I don't think the numbers are out of line on what they're paying. He told me they're paying close to $400,000 a year just in pension benefits for his small police force. It's a lot of money. But I think it's well worth it if we split this in half.
Okay, well, we will leave you to your negotiation. All right, can we take our vote, please?
Dr. Hall, I would just like to read this motion that I have captured in the minutes. I have that it was moved by Mrs. Galbraith and seconded by Mr. Teray to approve the use of a school resource officer at Crete Monee High School for the 2016-17 school year. So that's what you're voting on, is the use of, to approve the use of a school resource officer.
Yes.
Okay, thank
Sorry.
you. Okay.
And you made the notes in the minutes.
I have that the MOU will be presented to the Finance Committee once this is negotiated and finalized with the Crete Police Department. The salary numbers are coming from Deputy Chief Hill of the department and include the salary and benefits. These salary figures will be negotiated with the department and the district.
Monica, is that?
Okay. Okay.
How you,
You got
how you
anything
just
else?
read that, are you saying that it would come to the finance committee after the contract has been signed? Is that what you're saying? You said after negotiating?
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry, we have to come up with the memorandum of understanding that will include the duties. It will include how much we were agreeing to pay.
Okay.
And what the expectations are, including the time, how much time they will be here, vacations, everything that has to do with our agreement with the police department. And then it has to go to the finance committee to look at the numbers. And then if the finance committee approves it, we will send it to the full board.
Okay.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Okay. Mrs. Galbraith?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mrs. Gasparo?
Aye.
Mr. Teray? Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Dr. Hall?
Aye, thank you. Motion carries. Seeing that item number 9C1 has been removed, we shall move forward. And I do believe we have a need for a closed session, a very brief closed session. A very brief closed session. I'm sorry, I had hopes of getting out of here at 8:30, but we have someone requested a closed session. I'm hearing.
Can we, we're looking, can we do the, at least this line item with the business
What are we
before,
looking at?
and then do the,
Did I miss something?
did
Oh,
we
we
remove
moved that.
that? Did we vote on that already up front?
No, we
Okay.
removed it.
I know, I mean, vote to remove it.
Oh, yeah. in the-
Oh,
in
we
the
did up
beginning.
early.
Yes.
All right, I apologize. Okay.
You sleep?
Yes, I am.
Okay. May I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
For what purpose, please?
For the purpose of discussing student discipline.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Galbraith. Second by Mr. Teray. Please call the roll when you're ready. Mrs. Tobin?
Mrs. Galbraith?
Aye.
Mr. Teray? Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mrs. Gasparo? Dr. Hall?
Aye. Thank you. We are now in closed and we are proposing to be back at 8:45.
And I said, this is not a discipline issue or anything.
All righty, there we are. All right, can I have a motion to come out of closed session?
Yeah.
Moved. Moved by Mrs. Gasparo. Oh, I guess we want to stay in closed.
Second.
Second by Mr. Teray. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. All right, it's moving along. Human Resources, approval of personnel reports. Mr. Neal, sorry.
Okay. The personnel report is included in the board packet and is presented with our recommendation for approval as it is written. I will say real quick, I apologize, that a lot of this was, if you recall from the personnel committee, there were a significant number of reassignments, and this is to accommodate the closure of the sixth grade center and moving those teachers to the middle school and the other accompanying moves.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the personnel report?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Galbraith.
Second.
Second by Mr. Teray. Any questions?
I do have a question. Or just a clarification for the sake of the public. These moves from the sixth grade center are projected on this date, with that, just to make it clear that that's contingent on the addition being concluded, the hit list been done and ready for us to occupy the building.
Absolutely. Everything, all the assignments we give are considered tentative until the beginning of the school year.
You can flux a couple of months if, building isn't ready, correct?
We can do whatever we have to do to make sure we're operating.
So nobody's unclear that they're going to move and there's no place to go.
Correct. If there are changes, then we would take action to notify everybody what we're doing.
Building sometimes.
All righty. Mrs. Tobin. We did the motion already, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Please call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith?
Aye.
Mr. Teray?
Aye.
Mrs. Gasparo?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Dr. Hall?
Aye. Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the resolution authorizing reemployment of certified staff for the 2015-16 school year, plus dismissal and retirements for the 2015-2016 school, it has to say term.
Moved.
I'm still going. Dismissals include Adam Eckhoff, Vera Miladinovich, and Jason Hess. I believe by law we have to say those names, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Not to put anybody out there, by law we have to say it, so. Moved by, who's that? Who moved it?
Me.
Mrs. Galbraith, second by Mr. Teray. Secretary, Mrs. Tobin, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith?
Aye.
Mrs. Gasparo?
No.
Mr. Teray?
Aye.
Dr. Hall?
Aye, thank you. Motion carries. May I have a motion to approve the resolution authorizing notice of proposed contract non-renewal of Administrator Otis Watkins?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Gasparo,
Second.
second by Mrs. Galbraith. Mrs. Tobin, please call the roll when you're ready.
Mr. Teray? Mrs. Gasparo?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Present.
Mrs. Galbraith?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Dr. Hall?
Aye. And may I have a motion to approve the transfer of student 2016 4A to the Crete Monee Alternative Program until the end of semester 1 of the 2016-17 school year?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Brown. Second by Mr. Teray. When you're ready, Mrs. Tobin.
Mrs. Gasparo?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Teray? Mrs. Galbraith?
Present.
Dr. Hall?
Aye. Thank you. Okay. Any old business? I do want to mention, I mentioned it in our finance meeting as well, need board members to be looking at your dates for doing our strategic planning and board retreat weekend. We're looking for Friday, Saturday dates in April. So Terry will be contacting you soon to get those.
I was looking before or after the conference.
After, I'm thinking, the national conference. The national conference, April 8th. So you have April 15, 16, April 22, 23, or April 29, 30.
I'm not going to say that I will be available on the 15th because I have no idea what that day holds for me. As it is, I was running into the post office today at 5 o'clock as they closed, so.
So if we did it, I don't know if this makes a difference, Jennifer, it would be 6 to 9 that evening. I don't know if that makes a difference. But we'll be looking to do a 6 to 9 Friday night and then a Saturday 9 to 1.
I have an issue with 2 days.
Okay.
I would like not to have to give a Friday night and a Saturday. It is a hardship for me with my work schedule. So I'm just stating that I would prefer it be 1 day and be done with.
A whole
If we
day,
could,
like a whole Saturday,
a whole day of some sort. I mean,
the whole day. Mr. Anderson, how is your schedule?
I could do all Saturday.
Yeah, you work
But
during the
Friday
week all
and
day.
Saturday would not be a problem for me.
And Friday and Saturday would not be a problem? Okay, but for you, it's better to do a Saturday, correct? I mean, as far as a weekday, you couldn't do a
Yes,
whole
but,
weekday.
yeah,
Gotcha.
better than a weekday. So I could do that, you know, with enough notice.
Okay. Okay. Any other things to consider, Mr. Brown?
No, my kids and my wife, they have established new goals for me, and I'm reviewing those goals. And I'm just, pouring it out. I was so readily available in the many years I've been on the board. So, and I'm going to continue to go that way, but they may have other opinions on that. So,
I understand.
I would just like to pick a date that everyone can attend.
Mhm.
We've got 4 or 5, we've done a couple of these and our best efforts, some of us could attend and others couldn't.
Mhm.
I think it's very important that the 7 of us meet And I think what Jennifer's CPA duties, later in the month is better, right? Correct?
For me, yes, because I'd like to see my children at some point.
You know, and
I haven't seen them in a long.
And I don't know if Ms. Sanders, what she's got going on. Really would like to stress all 7 of us being there, so.
I agree.
We can all discuss everything.
I can be flexible if I need to be.
How's everybody's Friday, April 22nd? 22nd, do we have anything on that day on the calendar?
It's the foundation gala, if that means anything to anybody.
I'm like, if we do it all day,
Oh, you mean during the day?
Mhm.
Oh, I'd have to.
April 22nd. Is it all day
There's no
bad for
school that
anybody
day.
else?
I'd have to see if I can get a whole day off of work.
Okay.
And it's no school that day. What is it?
All
Why is
day,
there no school?
not
Oh,
night.
No, it's school day.
It's school on that day. You said it is school on that day? Well, maybe it's another reason. Do we have a Friday off in April?
Do I?
It is Institute Day. So half the day would be the strategic planning and the other half would be the board retreat with the superintendent. So your cabinet would be attending the one half, right? Okay.
I'd like to add something else. I would really like to discuss with the entire board on that 7th, this bond issue and what we're going to do with if the bond issue is passed, what we're going to do with the money that we have saved and what programs will be initiated. We've talked about ELC and expanding it. We've talked about our ROTC program. We've talked about interventions. We've talked about specialized reading teachers, math teachers, etc. I really would like to have like a roundtable discussion and set definite plans and implement things. Because, in the last 20 years, I've been coming to these board meetings. You know, there's the old adage, good intentions. You know, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. There's been a lot of good intentions to do things, and it's always been, well, we're afraid of the state. We're afraid we don't know what the state's going to do. The problem is children keep growing, and we keep losing generations of kids while we're waiting for the state to do something. I think we need to just make a plan, do it, and give these kids an opportunity to succeed the best they can with resources and use that money wisely in the classroom where it belongs, and not just hold on to it in hopes that the state's going to do something. Because we're going to keep, my opinion, we just keep losing kids over and over again. And you know, we all have good intentions, but we don't implement. You know, a plan's no good if you can't implement. So that's what I'd like to talk about. And, you know, doing this, the only drawback with doing it April 22nd is, you know, if we're looking at taking any action on this bond at the April board meeting, but it's after the fact instead of before the fact. So I'd like to recommend we don't do anything on the bonds until we've had time to sit down and talk and really talk about what we're going to do with this money that we save if we do pass the bond issue, and make concrete plans and not wishy-washy, you know, well, we'd like to do this, but keep hearing the but, you know, make a plan, implement it, and march forward. So those are my feelings. I just wanted to express it and get it out there. Thank you.
All righty. So we know that we want to do a whole day, preferably on the weekend. And I have a question. Is anybody opposed to Sundays?
Would we be able to get an ISD rep on Sunday?
I don't know. Superintendent's a little concerned about this.
Sunday,
Yeah. That's the one day.
because April's not looking good then. If we're trying to do this before the board meeting, April wouldn't look good.
No, you're talking about doing this before the board. Let me make sure I
To have a
understand.
discussion on the bonds prior to doing well, actually, Mike, that wouldn't be for the board retreat.
Oh.
That would have to be at
So
the finance. When is the
You want to
finance?
do a special board meeting, or
April 6th.
we do it at the finance meeting? Because I don't think we can do that in a retreat
Yeah.
atmosphere.
That would be for the finance meeting.
Yeah, so we just allow us time and we, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and it'll be April 6th. That'll be before the board meeting and everything.
So we get all our questions in, all of our concerns in prior to the finance meeting. And we have to understand that we may have a long finance meeting or keep, talk with Dr. Williams regarding the agenda, that we won't have 15 things on the agenda, that we can focus in on the most important things and move forward with that. So I do challenge all the board members to start gathering their concerns and issues up, as opposed to, waiting until a couple days before the finance meeting. Just as they come to you, get them to Dr. Williams, so we can have enough information to share with the board so they can make a conscious, reasonable vote come April.
And I know that a couple of board members expressed concern also with discussing the Senate Bill 100 law and some of the issues we've been seeing occurring. And I agree, we do need to discuss that. I do know that at our workshop, our community workshop on April 25th, we do have State Representative Will Davis, who will be coming out to that and answering questions and discussing that. But as far as us as a board having that conversation about what it means to us and moving forward with the issues that we've observed ourselves for our district in particular, I think that is good to have that conversation. Excuse
Can
me.
I ask if I've seen from other districts, I've been handed, I think they've been prepared by their law firm, sort of SB 100 implementation kind of manuals. Is that something that we have?
There was an opportunity, I think with
some guidelines about what boards, what policies might need to be adjusted.
Actually, one of the reasons we hadn't handed that out yet, we had expected for March to actually have all of the information from press. And we were told at the beginning press would have it and we would be able to look at all of our policies and discuss our policies. But the press, it didn't come out this month. We are expecting it to be out in April. Is that correct?
It was just issued last week.
Oh, but now we have it?
Yeah. Yes.
Just yesterday.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Could I suggest something? In all due respect, I have listened to politicians come out and talk to us for 25 years in this district, 24 years, actually. With all due respect to, what's his name?
Will Davis.
Will Davis. Can you ask him to bring a staffer that really knows? Other than, I hear your concerns and, we really think, we're a champion for education and I love you and, I just, I have heard that to the point of nauseam from so many of our politicians. If he could bring somebody that really has answers to what does paragraph 3 mean, what does paragraph 7B mean, it would really be helpful in my opinion, and all due respect to our representative.
I don't think it would ever hurt to say that, but I can tell you that I went down to testify in Springfield for SB 100 before coming to this district, and Will Davis was the person that was there running
He's
LUDA
the,
and all of the other
sponsor in the
ISA
House.
people through it. He knew the bill.
God bless him, and he'll be first. I'll vote for him.
He's actually not in our area, but I do know him, and I just asked him to come out to explain it since he's the chief sponsor in the House on the bill. So asked him to come out. Also, we put out some months back, there was a training on Senate Bill 100. We sent it out. I was able to go, I think.
Dr. Hall, if
Doctor.
you hear of another one, can you let me know? Because I teach on Monday nights, so I will not be able to be there.
Or I was gonna say, we could ask, our lawyers to come out and do.
Our lawyers have done more than one. We can have a board training. That's not an issue on SB 100. Have them do a packet and have it ready for each one of them, and for them to give you detailed instruction that you'd get better than anything else.
And it was so thorough. It was so thorough. This was Robbins and Schwartz, I believe. It was a 4-hour training, and it also had a Q&A at the end where districts, it was packed. I don't know how many hundreds of people were there, but you were able to ask questions, specific examples, how would this apply? And, so you got to kind of hear what some of the other districts are doing. And let me say, some people are doing some illegal stuff. It was a little scary, but they were telling them what's legal, what's not, how do you deal with this, how do you deal with that, what parts of the bill apply to this, and different things. So we could have our own lawyers come out and break it down for us personally, so we can get a better understanding. I know Robbins and Schwartz also had a handout. Actually, I have the email version. I can send that to everybody so you can go through it and see, because they broke it down in layman's terms, parts of the bill. So I'll send that out to everyone, or have Terry send it out. But I think we do need to get a full understanding of the law. And, as one of my colleagues said, we do need to follow the law. But, we need to understand it so we know why it was put into place, but also be able to explain it to our constituents who have a lot of questions about it. So, back to the date, I'm just going to throw it out, maybe either the 22nd or the 23rd. If everyone can look at their calendars to see if either one of those dates work. We're in April. And then let Terry know by, what's today, Tuesday? It's Friday. Enough time, let her know if either one of those dates work. Okay. Any new business?
We wanted to talk about the insurance committee. The insurance committee.
Oh, yeah, we need to create our insurance committee, and it requires 2 representatives from the Board of Education. I want to make sure it came to the entire board, so we can put it out for any 2 board members that would like to volunteer to be on that particular committee. Dr. Williams, can you explain that, what that committee is?
No problem. The insurance committee consists of 4 members of CMEA, including the president, 2 members of the Board of Education, and the superintendent has designated Mr. Neal and myself to participate for the administration. And that committee will be charged with reviewing the current structure for our benefit package for medical, dental, life, so forth and so on, and considering program changes that could potentially decrease the overall expense to the district as well as to the employee. Whatever recommendations come out of that committee will be presented to this board for consideration prior to the renewal, which is September 1st.
And what's the time commitment?
The estimated time commitment is 5 to 10 hours over the next few months as we learn about the program from our new insurance broker and some of the options that they're presenting us with for cutting costs.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I believe Mrs. Gasparo already expressed interest in being on that. Are there any other board members that would like to
I would.
participate? Mrs. Galbraith? So you can get them the information then. All righty. Any other new business? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn at 9:14 p.m.?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Galbraith,
Second.
second by Mr. Anderson. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. All right, we are adjourned, and I stay here and sign all